Okay. I want to spend a few minutes reviewing some of the things that we have learned over the past lessons, and I'll indicate which lesson I'm referring to, because when we were translating last week in that exercise that I was mentioning to Veen, the liturgical phrases, I felt there's a few things that we had forgotten, a few basic things. So I want to go over them really quickly, or maybe not so quickly, 10-15 minutes. Then we'll go over lessons 9 and 10 today. We're going to combine them, and you'll see why in a minute. So I'm just picking out a few things that I felt last week we either forgot or it was harder for us to recognize, or whatever the case may be. The first one is from lesson 3. Lesson 3 about what is possessive or genitive, meaning when you want to say that something belongs to somebody. The son of the man. Okay? The light of the earth, for instance. How do we say that? There's a couple different ways that we do this in Coptic. The simplest way is by using or in before the noun that's being possessed. So for instance, Pioini, the light. You can say, if I want to say the light of the world, okay, I can do one of two ways. I can either go in te, pi cosmos. Cosmos means world. Okay? Or, instead of in te, I can use this. Pi cosmos. The important part is to recognize this in front of a noun. Does everybody follow me? Mm-hmm. We learned this. We might have forgotten it, but we learned it. So it's very simple. Either or n, okay, depending on the letter that comes after. Either way, it means the same exact thing. Or the longer form, ente. And if you look at lesson 3, there's a couple small rules as to sometimes why we need to use this instead of this. But for you, you're not necessarily composing in Coptic. You're only going to be translating or reading from Coptic when you want to. So it's just a matter of recognizing this or this. So for instance, how about this? Yot. Do you remember what yot means?
Father.
Father. Yot means father. And the father of the virgin. Notice here we're using n, not m, because it comes with a t after. It's just a matter, if you look at it with natural pronunciation, it's easier to say n t parthenos instead of t parthenos. At least that's the way ancient Egyptians felt.
So there is no rule for it?
There is a rule. So certain letters, you'll put an m, certain letters, you put an n. That's it. I think I listed the letters for you at one point or another. There's basically a few letters, and that's all they are. The rest of them, you use the same exact meaning, and all 3 of them mean the same exact thing. Okay? All right, that's the first thing I wanted to go over.
Is it the? So the meaning is the or?
It means of.
Okay.
That's all it means. Of.
Oh, okay.
Possessive or genitive. The father of the virgin. Okay? Yeah, T is the Parthenos virgin. But the part that I'm emphasizing here is this letter. Of. Okay? What's called the possessive or the genitive. Okay? Lesson 4. That was basically the most important thing about lesson 3, really, anyway. But let's move on to lesson 4. We sort of went over this. We skipped it because we were doing other... We didn't skip it, but we went over it in brief and we moved on to other matters after the fact. Something called the relative. Okay? So, I'm going to say a phrase that we say often in church, usually not in Coptic. Peniot.
Our Father in the heavens.
Our Father. Chenifiowi. Now we learned this. I was gonna review this actually on the other side of the board, but I'll do it now. In Coptic, there's ways we can have a complete phrase without a verb. You just have a preposition and a couple of nouns. This preposition means in.
Who is in heaven, right?
I'll explain that in a minute. So our pen. You remember these? Log possessives. Our Father in the heavens. Okay? In Coptic, you don't need a verb for sentence like this, so this sentence actually says, our Father is in the heavens. There's no verb here. Okay? But now, when you add a relative to it, you can add a relative to say, who is in the heavens? You do it here. You put it right here. Right before the preposition. Et. Et, if you ever see et, that means, it's a relative. It means who is doing something. Alladhi. Or allati. Alladhina. Okay? Let me give you a couple examples of this.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
Then what's J? Like, because J and Yota.
Oh, J? At the beginning of any sentence, if you see J, in Coptic that just means this in English.
Someone will talk.
It's a quotation.
Yeah, someone
It's basically giving a marker saying that either you're going to say something or the person in the story is going to say something. So if you read the Gospels in Coptic, whenever Christ is saying something, right before he says it, I am the light of the world. You see J. Always. Always, 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 always. Okay? That's a good question. Let me show you an example. So we learned that et means who did something, right? Let me do this first. If you put a definite article in front of it, the P, the feminine, the plural, okay, it becomes the one or he who did something, she who did something, they who did something. Okay, so it's not just, so for instance, okay, this word, ethoweb, means pure or holy. It's often used
We
in
didn't
church.
take this. We didn't take this.
We did not take this?
No, pet, theater.
Yeah, that's the part I want to go over today.
Yeah, we didn't take it.
Well, actually, owab means holy or pure. This is where in Coptic we get the word owib, which means priest. Okay? That's where we get the word from. If I wanted to say, who is holy? Et or eth oweb. If I wanted to say, he who is holy, Peth oweb or Fief oweb. So there's a progression. This is the adjective or the noun. Okay? This is saying who is something. Who is holy in this case? He who is holy. So there's three parts to this. There's the definite article, P or F. That's part. Then there's et. Then there is the thing that's being described. And you can add this to even verbs. Okay? So, for instance, Saji, to speak. We learned a couple weeks ago, you can say, of Saji, he spoke. Right? Past tense? A couple of you were not here for past tense, but you're going to have this funny look on your faces. Marianne especially. And Naveen, you weren't here for a couple of weeks. Okay? If I wanted to say who spoke, et afsaj. So you put the et in front of anything, it becomes who did something.
Can you say again the person's it for a her, she?
This is for masculine, feminine, plural.
في أي ناقصة في البلورال؟
ثانية واحدة. Pet masculine.
Pet masculine, theat feminine, niet plural. So for instance,
ونيتني فيها أي ناقصة ولا أنا هي أن واحدة بس مش أن أي؟
هي ان بعد كده الإيتا. That looks like an H. Let me rewrite it.
So when we say is always, so we're in the liturgy or any.
The true meaning is who is holy.
who is holy?
But we just say holy. Because we're gonna keep,
Yeah.
for practical purposes, you don't want to just keep saying who is holy, who is holy, who is holy. But for instance, in yes,
It's different here. It's lesson 4.
yeah, okay. Niete, is it theate?
I don't see.
What lesson is that? 4? That's lesson 4.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's fine. Yeah, it's the same thing. I spelled it. The trouble when you've learned multiple dialects is that sometimes the spellings are different. Oftentimes the spellings are different. So the spelling I had up here was for Sehirik. It's a different dialect than the dialect we use in church. This is the spelling for our church, for our dialect that we use in church. Yeah. So pete, thete. So for instance, even though that's not always the case, sometimes it is going to be tiet as well. It really depends. Let me see it one more time, Maria. Is there more of them?
That's not extra. I think that's.
Okay. I think for our purposes, the one that I am most concerned with is recognizing what this means at when you see it in a word.
Okay.
Yes.
Pete, thete, nete, they go to a noun or to a verb? Or
This becomes a noun. So, for instance,
because we used to use et, say etren.
so
هي et بتاعت ايه؟
okay, so et. So I'll show you the difference.
يعني when we use et, when we use pete, thete.
Exactly, it's exactly what I'm going to show you right now. So we used. Oops. We said peniot et chen. Let's just say et fe in the heaven. Et chen et fe. Our Father, who is in the heaven. Okay. If I wanted to say he who is in the heaven, I'm not specifying that it's our Father. I'm just saying some man or some person is in heaven. I would say pet chen et fe.
Okay, so it's instead of the subject.
Instead of the actor or the subject, this replaces it right here.
But I think يعني maybe I'm not sure if I got Manila right. It is separate by itself, but you add the
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
or
Exactly. You have to understand that these are actually two separate things. Et is just the relative clause, what's called a relative. Then you can add the P, it makes it a noun. Just like you have P and T and ni, the in any noun. We learned that I think in lesson 2. Is this too confusing?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
You can either have the subject specified, piromi. Chen ep. The man is in the house. You can say the man et chen ep. The man who is in the house. Or you can say instead of piromi, pet chen ep. The one who is in the house. He who is in the house. Just this letter replaces the actual subject.
Yeah, يعني et it comes with the subject, but the other ones they replace the subject.
Yes. Okay. The one I want to worry about the most is this, and I'll have some exercises next week to make sure that we get this down. That's lesson 5, we said it was?
Four. This four.
Lesson 4, yeah, relative. Okay, let's go a couple other things that are simpler. One where we went over actually, and that is in Coptic, there's a couple of different ways of having sentences without ever using a verb. The one that we said that's most obvious is when you have a noun plus a prepositional phrase. We just went over that. With chen, penyot et chen nifiowi. Our Father is in the heavens. There's no verb there. Let's do another one. He is in. Tisimi, what does tisimi mean? The woman. Hijan is one of the prepositions I asked you to memorize. Upon or on. Pimoit, do you remember that?
Yeah, the road.
The road or the way. So translate that for me.
The woman who is on the road.
Is there a who there?
The woman
The woman on the road.
The woman is on the road.
She is.
There's no verb.
Yeah. But
There's
you
no
assume-
verb.
yes.
But this is a complete sentence where you add the is. You don't have it's like Arabic actually. Al-imra'a
على الطريق.
ala tariq.
قارعة
There's no verb. Is there a verb? There's no verb. This is one thing that Coptic has in common with some other languages, that there's no need for a verb to have a complete sentence. The woman is on the road. This right here makes it a complete sentence. Is on the road or is on the way. Okay? So that's one way to have a complete sentence in Coptic. Another one is by using something called a copula. It's not really a verb. And this just makes, and this you translate into English by saying is or are. Okay, so for instance, payot. What does payot mean?
My father.
He is my father. Payot pe. He is my father. How about Nen shiri. What does shiri mean?
Sons.
Sons or children when it's in the plural. Nen shiri.
Our sons.
Our sons. Ne. They are.
They're our sons.
They are our sons. So to is, the verb to be, is or are, is how you translate this, and this forms a complete sentence.
It can come in the beginning and the end too.
Yes, beginning or it cannot come in first place.
It
They can
cannot
come in the
come-
middle. Cannot.
Oh.
It can come in the middle. So for instance. So for instance, PTNA. That's the only form for it.
You
So,
will write it
but it
for
can
your
come in the middle.
reference.
So I'll give you an example. This is lesson 6, right? Somebody translate this for me. Maria, translate this for me. Don't be afraid. Oh, I'm sorry. I misspelled this. What does piromi mean? The man.
The man,
Payote.
my father. The man is my father.
Precisely. Payot, piromi, the man. Payot pe. He is my father. You can also put pe in the middle here. Piromi pe payot.
This makes
The man
sense.
is my father.
This makes more sense.
Or you can switch these two words and it'll be the same exact thing. Will mean the same exact thing. Payot pe piromi. Same exact thing. Complete sentence in Coptic without the use of an actual verb. We started learning about verbs, in fact, in lesson 8, and we went over that for a couple of weeks, including last week. Easy enough so far? Okay. One or two other things I just wanted to go over. Those you need to memorize, and you'll be quizzed on those next week.
No quiz.
There's a quiz next week.
No.
Lesson
I'm
7.
absent next week. I'm not here.
We want to make sure we have retained a few things before we end our time together in a few weeks. Lesson 7, independent personal pronouns. Let me erase stuff over here.
Independent,
Personal pronouns.
How do you say I and we and they and he and she in Coptic? So Enoch. Lesson 7. Enoch. I.
بالنسبة لو بدك تلزم تبني
10 minutes. You need lesson 7? Anybody need it? So, independent personal pronouns. How do you say I on its own in Coptic? Enoch. How do you say you to masculine in Coptic? Enthok. Okay. How do you say you feminine in Coptic? Entho. So, for instance, this is a hymn
has a
that.
question, yeah.
Not a question.
Now?
Maria
The
has a question.
Anok has a thing.
It's not supposed to.
Oh, so it's a typo?
It's not a typo. It's not necessary. It's people use Jacobs way too much. It's just okay. So if I told you that shuri means censor, shuria. Translate this sentence for me then. Entho te tishori.
She?
You are.
You are.
You are the
You are the censor. This is a hymn that we sing for we chant for Saint Mary during the weekdays of Lent. Anti al-Magmara, actually. Okay. Do you see how we use this by itself? Instead of saying ti parthenos te tishori, the virgin is the censor. We're just gonna say she is the censor.
Is it she or you?
You.
Oh, I'm sorry, you.
Oh.
Okay.
Good job. Good job, Mariana. أعمل كيف نعرف.
How about this? Enthos te tishori. She is the virgin.
Oh,
Yeah.
she.
شايفين the bottom line?
Yeah, a lot of study.
Enthos, right?
Enthos.
ده يعني ايه بقى؟
She is
أنت.
the Magmara.
هي.
She is the Magmara.
هي المغمرة. And then the next column over. آن نحن
we.
plural. إن صوت أنتم. إن ثؤوا هم.
فين هن هنا بقى؟
هم اللي بقى
مفيش.
مفيش.
It's a very good question.
يبقى هم
في العربي
هن بتنفع
في العربي not only is there for the feminine plural في الدول كمان بيكونوا اتنين بس.
حد بيت-
In Coptic مفيش differentiation in the plural بين masculine and feminine. It's okay. Alright, so that's all I wanted to point out for that. The last thing I want to point out is this. There are ways to ask questions in Coptic. These are all just reviews, things that we either skipped or did not emphasize. I want to sort of make sure that we're aware of. We're still in lesson 7, the bottom of the first page. How to ask certain questions. Neem, if you ever see neem, that means it's a question. It means who.
And if you go like the reverse mean, it's like who? Like mean.
That's probably that might
شطورة في
Just
الرايت
like you.
من الحاجات دي.
there's a legitimate chance that's where it came from.
You're smart.
Dyslexic.
Very
Just
smart.
be dyslexic and it will help.
Ash means what?
Ash, 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 ash.
U can also mean what? Different ways of asking it.
Wait, do they all mean what?
Sorry?
Do they all mean what?
No, just these two. These two mean what? This one means who. And we'll come up with phrases later on, exercises to translate these. Okay?
So
Actually,
they don't have a question mark. It's like They don't have question mark in Coptic?
There's no question marks in Coptic.
The semicolon.
Semicolon?
No, that's no. This is just for the lessons. In Coptic, there's no capitalization. There's no punctuation. So the way you know it's a question is from the word.
So they put everything and I forgot about it.
So there is no
They
where.
decorate it. In مخطوطات there's decorations, but there is never question marks.
Okay.
There is no
Not
where.
even-
Where?
There is where. Where I think is where. Where. But we can learn that later on. So for instance, I'll give you an example of
كلنا هننساهم كلهم ناخدها دلوقتي ناخدها بعدين. بس تبقى موجودة في الورق.
ايه الكفايه ولا؟
مخطوطات.
إيه.
يا بعد ما هنتناقش بعد كده.
أنا مش فاكرة.
if I told you mene means sign or miracle, okay? Translate the rest of this for me, this sentence. Ash pay pi mean. What does pi mean?
What?
Pi means this.
What's
Pi-
the sign?
What is this sign? Exactly.
What is
So what is this sign?
oh what
Wow.
is this sign?
It's full sentence.
استنى
This is from the Gospels.
From the... Really?
What is the sign? The miracles.
what is
Oh.
this sign? استنى
Sign ولا miracles؟
No, sign here.
sign مش إشارة. Sign miracle.
The miracles of Christ were oftentimes referred to by the people as a sign of his divinity, obviously. Okay, so that's all I wanted to show for the time being. Let's now get into lessons 9 and 10, which will not take a long time, because I'm combining them for our benefit. Okay, you already have in this list. I gave you a list a long time ago of prepositions that I'm asking you to memorize, and you memorized them because you were tested on them. Do you have it all in front of you?
Which one? Starting with what word?
عندي كل حاجة.
Which page?
It looks like this.
وش يا مان.
Starting with name?
It's with them he can. معاكو؟
ايوه هات واحدة.
أنا مش معايا.
يمكن رابع نسخة له.
لا يا بابا اديتها لها اديتها لها.
بيطلع عليها اديني واحدة. أنا بيطلع عليها البطاطس. يا إيه عيب كده. عيب كده. بتعمل إيه بالنسخ؟ وأنتي بتاخدي النسخ
مش عارفة هي فين.
معاكي صح؟
لو دوروا في العربية ممكن
أوكي.
مش عارفة.
لقيتيها عندي كمان.
ملغمة.
لا خليه. Okay.
So, على فكرة كان we're recording يا جماعة. بتاعت البطاطس.
هي أي حاجة خلاص
شكل كده خد يا باشا.
Okay. So I want to emphasize
It's okay. It's okay.
that some of these prepositions and adverbs, what they mean, so that when we use them with a verb, we'll know what it means. So ibol by itself usually means out. Okay? Or away from. So for instance, ko, okay, usually means ko means like to put or to place. Okay? Koebol is to place outside or to throw out. It actually is used to mean to forgive. You're throwing out somebody's sins or somebody's offense against you. Okay? Echon means to go
Listen
in.
9. Listen 9.
To go in. Okay? The verb she means to go. If you were to go in, that means in English to enter. You follow?
So إخوان alone is what not? إخوان alone.
Is in. You're going in something. She, the verb she means to go, to proceed somewhere. So if you're to go in somewhere, that means you're entering. You can just
Then
translate
you
it as to
combine the
enter.
two words.
Yeah, you're combining two words. Because what we're going to learn is that a lot of these adverbs that you see in lesson 9, when they're combined with verbs, they'll give the verb a different meaning.
مريح. Okay.
Okay? Likewise, we said evol is out or away. She evol means to exit or to go out. Okay? Or to go away somewhere. Alright? And if you see towards the bottom or in the middle of the page, there's a whole list of them. You are expected to learn these. I expect you to learn these. Why? I'll specify tonight or tomorrow which things for you to memorize, so it's clear. The reason is, I'll tell you why this is important. Because these are all over our liturgy. And in order to understand a piece, one word can throw you off completely, and it's only because we didn't memorize it. If we were to memorize it, that one word, it will make a huge difference in our ability to understand a sentence.
These ones?
These and other ones I'll show you from lesson 10. Okay, the reason I notice with certainty is that when I was picking out liturgical phrases for us to translate last week, and it's in that page, you probably all took copies of it, yeah? Liturgical phrases. Nader, how many copies did you take of that?
وريني انا هقول لك اديني بس الشكل اقول لك.
Yeah, that one right there. So it says liturgical phrases on the top.
I don't have it.
شوفي يا اماني كام نسخه
انت
كده
بتعمل بزنس
عندنا كل حاجه
عندك يا اماني؟
No, I don't have it.
اكيد لا هقول لك لا اسهل
The reason, okay, so I went through almost our entire liturgy.
Thank you.
Did I find it here?
طب اسمعوني. I almost went through our entire liturgy, and I had to be very picky which phrases I picked out for a reason. That I knew that you did not have some of these adverbs. I did not have some of these adverbs and prepositions memorized. You guys didn't. So I avoided using those phrases, even though if you were to memorize them, it would be easier for you to read. Okay? So I ask you this list in lesson 9 to memorize it for a quiz next week.
Listen, 9?
Yeah.
Lesson 9?
This list right here. And by the way, I don't grade them. I'm not keeping track of who's doing better and who else. This is for your benefit. If you don't want to take the quiz next week, that's your choice. We're adults here. I mean, we're together. This is a journey that we're taking together.
الورقه اصلا هتلاقي الكلام انت
But this all I'm going to ask you to learn. This.
صفحه كام شابتر
9-1.
اوكي
9-1. Lesson 9. Now let's do a little bit from lesson 10, and then we'll end for today.
lesson 9 لسه مش عارفين بس احنا we're going to lesson 10.
No, lesson because they're independent of each other. They're not dependent on each other necessarily. All right?
وزع علينا شوي بس.
هو حاطط الورقه هنا عشان كده فين listen 10
نرجع نحدث الموضوع.
Does everybody have lesson 10?
دي listen 10
معايا لسه.
معاك يا اماني؟
اماني لا طبعا هاتي حبيبتي هاتي احتياطي خدي حبيبتي listen 10 معايا الحاجه اللي امسكي المعجزه حصلت لا افهم
لا انا مش عايزة.
ده مجمعها.
Okay. We learned in that list.
مش هتفرق خالص
In that list that I gave you, there are some prepositions on it that you were tested on some weeks back.
alright
Okay? One of them that's very common is this right here. Now, to me, it means with or means and. بعدين. I can't talk
يا
anymore.
جماعه
You can save me
They can
one?
have some time.
You can save me one.
حطوها هنا في حته
Okay.
what is the meaning of نيمة
So this is not nim, اللي هو who.
Nem.
This is nem, which means with
او and
or and.
امال انهي واحده اللي كان مين قلنا قبل كده؟
نم اللي فوقيها
اه
Translate this for me.
Name with you.
Nem pefiyot. And or with his.
Who is?
قولي.
Name on the top is
Forget this.
with his father
With his father. Ah. What if I wanted to say with him?
Big.
We haven't learned that yet. We haven't learned that yet. So what happens is, with every single one of these prepositions, if the noun, if there isn't a noun, and I just want to say him or her or they, this is very important. The form of that preposition changes. So for instance, nem becomes
Nema.
Nema plus a letter at the end here that tells you who is the person that's with him.
So this is lesson 10, right?
Lesson 10.
نيما or نيما يعني with
اه.
initial paper بتاعنا.
لا لا معلش يا
Listen 10.
يا مارك ايه الفرق بين
You have
نيم ونيما؟ اجين
Do we take it or something?
I'll sit you in a
we
second.
just started.
You have it in front of you. قدامك. Oh, that's yours? Okay.
معلش يا مارك سوري
Okay.
يعني
اسمعوني بقى.
لا ايه الفرق بين نيم ونيما اجين؟
ما I'm gonna say.
اوكي
I'll give you a different one. Okay, and we'll come back to this one. هيجن معناها ايه؟ Upon. Hejen Pimoit means on the road or upon the road.
Yeah.
What if I wanted to say on it? Same question. What happens is this word changes form so that we have the ability to say on it بدل
هنقول الوord
the actual noun itself. So, and every single one of these changes to a different form, and you simply have to memorize the pairs. The pairs. So, for instance, Hijan becomes Hijo, like this. And the reason I have this little equal sign, this is your mark where you have to insert the letter. اللي هو تبقى it بدل this noun. So for it, it could be hijof, or upon us, it will be hijon. Okay?
I don't get it.
Okay, that's fine. Let's start over again.
Wow.
Do you remember how in Coptic when wanted to, okay.
يعني عليها
ربنا تقولي على الكرسي.
الضمير.
الضمير اللي هو المضاف إليه أو
عليها تتغيري
If I wanted to say our father, I usually say Penyot. I had this letter, and this indicates to me that it's us. He's our father. I want to say his father. الضمير pronoun اللي بحطها هي دي. Pefyot. Pesyot. Oh, I'm sorry. Pesyot. Her father. وهكذا. Okay? The same idea Coptic uses these pronouns, single letters, to say it or him if you're just using a preposition. So for instance, nem means with. I want to say it with him. This changes where this is the different form of the same preposition, and you simply have to put a letter on the end. So based on some of these that we learned, if I want to say with him, what letter do you think I'll put on the end here? F. Nemaf. With him. What if I want to say with her? Nemas. What if I want to say with us? Neman. We hear this in the liturgy all the time. If I wanted to say with me, Nemai is usually how it's done. And that's why if you look at lesson 10,
نماي ولا نمي ولا
actually Nemei, yeah. It depends, but yeah, Nemei.
يعني مش هتبقى ما هتبقى مش
Yeah,
نما.
it changes. This is where there's slight differences,
Is it
yeah.
lesson 10? نمي
Yes,
Yeah.
lesson 10.
Can you say them بقى كلهم؟
Yes. So I'll give you an example of doing a whole thing.
ممكن تعملوا على نيم.
على nem?
Writing it.
Okay. So nem, if I wanted to say with me, it's neme. Neme is the only one where it changes slightly. The rest of them are more consistent. Actually, the second one as well. Neme means with you, feminine.
هو مش عارف.
Nemak, masculine. You, with you.
You see?
So for instance, we say this to the Virgin Mary. What does choice mean?
The Lord.
The Lord.
With you.
أنا قلت لكم دلوقتي نمي means with you feminine. The Lord is with you. What if I want to say to Nader, the Lord is with you? How would I say it?
choice anymore.
Choice nimak. The Lord is with you, masculine. Nimaf,
With him.
with him. Nimas, with her. Niman, مع مين? With us. Nimoten,
With them. لا with you.
with you أجمعين.
Yeah, with you.
Yeah,
plural.
كلكم. Yeah, كلكم.
عجبتك دي.
Choice نموتين.
نمو
معاهم.
معهم هم. مش معهن، معهم عامة.
كلهم.
كلهم. So ignore this one right here.
Oh نماف with ايه ده؟ ممكن كتبت.
نيماف ونيماس مين مع مين؟
He, she, us, you, plural, and this is them. Okay? So in the lesson there's examples, 3 tables of different prepositions and how those get changed.
هو إمو يو إمو أو إمو
Yeah, emoy, emok, emmo, emof.
هي دي ايه؟ What is دي او؟
I actually don't know what Dio means. I don't know what he means by that.
يعني الموي دي معناها ايه؟ What does it mean?
Emoy is it's referring to
مين هم
like it's like a direct object. For instance, I of so
لا like أنوف مو.
it could be directionally.
هي ايه؟ ملهاش معنى.
الفرح لك.
امو يعني لا to.
So if you look at emmo, second person, it's for the feminine. فالفرح لك أو الفرح معاكي.
يعني امو معناها ايه؟ معاكي ولا لكي ولا معناها؟
It could- either way.
Preposition is what?
It's either way.
doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Which one? Specific meaning?
Emmo. So I'll give you an example. I want to say he drank something. I want to say he drank it. If you were to look, okay, this is this. So it's the fourth, the table on the left, the fourth one down.
Listen 10 right?
Yes, we're in lesson 10. I'll give you this as an example and then we'll go.
أنت كاتب إمو معناها إيه؟
I'll explain that in a
ما
minute.
عرفنيش.
I'll explain it.
دي او هو مش عارفه ايه دي او.
I don't know what dio is very obscure, but I'll explain what is meant by what this means, this word. If I
Maybe
want to
demonstrative?
sorry?
Demonstrative? Yeah.
No, it's not demonstrative. But let me explain. Let me get.
دي أو شكلها حاجة مهمة.
Okay, here we go.
Don't mix.
يعني حرف ونقطة وحرف ونقطة.
Don't mix.
Tob is a word that we use in church a lot. Means to ask or to pray, implore. Okay. If I want to say pray to somebody, the word that we use in Coptic for to is or n. Okay. Okay. So I want to say pray to the Lord. Tob map choice. This word right here means to in this instance. But if I wanted to say pray to him, ask him, this now changes. It goes from it goes to with all the letters. And that's what's in that first table. You see that first table on the left? Right here?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to say, pray to him, ask him, Tob, Eba, what's this letter here? Pray to him,
إمو
Emof. What if I want to say, ask her, Emos. If I wanted to say, ask us, even though that's very unusual. صلوا لنا احنا.
question.
Yes.
هي مش إن وإم بتبقى off برضه؟
Oh. What you'll learn, and we're not going to see this anytime soon, is that in Coptic, a single letter, في لهجة معينة, this letter right here can mean 8 different things.
8 different
8 different things. That's not necessarily the case in Boharic, in our dialect, but you're going to see that n can mean several different things. We saw that it means of, okay? In this case, tob images can also mean to.
Because there is a verb.
Yeah, because it's a verb, that's the verb, and here you're marking what is being asked, or who is being asked. Okay? So as you can see, so for instance, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
So we're going to be done.
So I have a question.
Yes.
حاجة simple. هو there's 2 ways to write the M, either this or the M like English. So this is the same M like here and like here.
You can write it whichever way.
So it's okay.
If you look at manuscripts, sometimes they're written like this, very
Yeah.
decorative, and sometimes they're written like this.
So it's the same. Okay.
It's fine.
I knew this one is the uppercase. Like usually when it is
But there's no uppercase in Coptic. The only time you ever see uppercase, so-called uppercase in Coptic, at the beginning of a paragraph, يكون عاملين حاجة fancy قوي
Yeah.
كده، بعد كده بقية الكلام.
Yeah, but usually لما بتبقى المي بتبقى this big
It's
one.
very fancy. So this is important this is important. Why? Because without you being able to recognize these, you're not going to understand. You're not going to understand what some of these words, what these things mean. So, for instance, I'll give you another example. That's strange. Okay. N can mean two, right? I want to give something to somebody. So I'm going to say, or okay, fine. Actually, I want to give afti and udoron. How about this?
هدية.
Yeah.
Present.
He gave a present. This marks what is being given, the un. But if what if I wanted to say he gave it? This un changes to this form, where you have to add all the letters. Actually, no. I made a mistake. Now I'm going to confuse you. I made a mistake. Let me do this over again. Are we late? Let's do this next week. Actually, let's do this next week. That's fine.
نسيناها خلاص.
Thank you. Okay, can we close this one?